I haven't done one of these for a while. Fight for blood? Sure, some companies spend a ton on advertising professional-grade cameras. Pro-grade means more than dumping everything into different automated green box modes. Features professionals care about, being able to control the details. Pro-grade means more flexibility than just, I get a juicy image when I push the shutter button. Now, two companies with tragic advertising in North America, Sony and LG, are currently offering the top solutions for really dialing in top-notch video. The XPERIA 1 and the LG V50 making the strongest arguments for mobile video production. So let's host one of my old school showdowns and have a good camera fight. Now, we're focusing on the software included with each phone, as that's the argument each company is making as a premium camera solution. Big phones, triple cameras. Let's battle. I'll be focusing on video, but I do want to mention stills performance at the top of this comparison. Sony is still a step behind here. The XPERIA 1 has one of the best manual modes I've ever seen on an XPERIA, but the stock camera app still lacks built-in RAW capture. But at least we finally have support for RAW on a third-party app. And like so many other manufacturers, you can only use those manual controls with the main sensor. The V50 lacks RAW or manual control for the zoom, but you can adjust settings and get a RAW image from the main and wide sensors, making the V50 the more flexible and complete photo solution. Looking at those camera apps, Sony separates traditional consumer features from their pro cinema mode. They're two completely separate apps. LG's dumping everything into one camera app, and they've adopted the same slider viewfinder menu system as pretty much every other manufacturer. I'm gonna call this a draw, because there are pros and cons for each. LG's app is a one-stop shop, but that means there's more to navigate getting to the features or settings you need. Sony's solution might make you juggle apps, but you know when you want Cinema Pro options, you're going immediately to the correct interface. As for the feature set in each app, again, these two face off very well. Both have the same collection of controls: shutter speed, white balance, ISO, auto or manual focus. Sony's app is more project-focused, locking in the look of the video and the frame rate and keeping all of those videos grouped in a separate folder. LG adds every photo and video to your main DCIM folder. I really like what Sony is doing for the layout. A preview window bordered by your controls. You lock those settings in, then the viewfinder expands when you're shooting. And the focus is on cinematic creation, so the description of shutter in degrees is a nice touch. I honestly haven't worked that way for a long while. It was kind of a blast from the past. LG's interface has gotten more cluttered over 5 generations of V series, but LG gets a slight edge here for better operation while shooting. On the XPERIA, you can adjust focus, but if your exposure is a little off, you can't correct that while shooting. You've got to stop, reset, and then start shooting again. LG also takes an edge again for flexibility. You get more options for frame rate and resolution on the V50. 60 frames per second 4K, 240 frames per second 1080p, 24 frames per second in 1080p wide cinema? Sure, all of that. Go nuts. Sony's cinema focus only allows for a wide UHD resolution in 24 or 30 frame per second flavors. And to compensate for the light acquisition on a smaller sensor, there only seems to be an option to shoot in a flavor of HDR. At first, I was inclined to give Sony a win for UHD wide video, since the LG only shoots 1080p wide for its cinema wide crop. But if you shoot full UHD on the LG, then both the XPERIA and the LG are shooting 3840 across. You can frame and crop the LG video to match the Sony's, but you can't shoot taller on the Sony to match the LG in 16:9. One significant win for the Sony though. It's the only phone, the only one I've used that allows complete control of all 3 camera sensors. LG is still unique for giving us manual control on the normal and wide sensor, but the V50 still omits the zoom sensor from the manual camera app. Sony's Cinema app feels the most like you have a proper zoom lens on your phone. For video quality, we're also really close. The LG can capture up to an 80 megabit per second UHD video in H.264. The Sony shoots around a 50 megabit per second video in H.265. It's a little difficult to eyeball those differences because of Sony's HDR setup. I think LG's lens is just a touch sharper on the main sensor, but both phones shoot crazy high quality. Up to now, I would say these phones are beautifully matched, but 2 points help the LG walk away with an overall victory. The first is such a small thing, but it's crazy how few companies have adopted it: focus peaking. The Sony screen is gorgeous, but it's not the easiest to check for focus when you're shooting in daylight. Focus peaking on the LG makes it so much easier to check when your subject is crisp. It's a small quality of life feature that helps significantly. The second point is a bit more substantial. It makes it a wider win for LG. Audio. LG is the undisputed champion of capturing audio on our phones. The microphones on both phones are pretty evenly matched, but LG remains the only company to give us metering, monitoring, and gain control. Plugging in headphones, you can hear what you're recording in real time, or you can use that 3.5mm jack to more easily plug in external microphones. Then you flip on this audio interface, you can dial in the gain, set a low cut filter, turn on the limiter. If you're really interested in making things from your phone, this audio, critical advantage. Good video is only as good as the sound stapled to those crispy visuals. Point for point, feature for feature, we've gotta declare a victor here. LG V50, Sony XPERIA 1, which phone really deserves the crown for pro-grade camera features? It shouldn't come as any surprise that I'm going to give the overall win to the LG. The 5th generation V series is well refined by now, but I don't want that to take away from how impressive Sony's solution is. The first time we've seen Sony approach this kind of functionality in a phone, and it's way better than I was expecting a first generation product to be. In an age where most companies are trying to emulate a streamlined iPhone or Pixel camera feature set, it's refreshing to have options for folks who want more control over their camera. And hopefully we see a few more options like these instead of companies trying to convince consumers that pro grade means slow AI oversaturating and gimmicky video stabilization. But I digress. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos, subscribing to this channel, bell icon, all that jazz. More than just taking 6 sample shots in a selfie video the week a phone launches, we really want to see what these things can do when we drive them to their limits. For most people, pros included, our phones are likely the first cameras we have access to. Sometimes, the only cameras we have access to. If you'd like to help support the production of those deeper dive conversations, there are links in the description below, or you could consider joining the list of names scrolling by on your screen right now. A growing community of fun, like-minded tech pals, a huge resource for me in planning future content, and they get exclusive access to my camera and audio deep dive reviews. They're good people. I hope you check it out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy on the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the Twitch, and I will catch you all on the next review.